All right, notes 2.10, intro to point slope form. This is a very important video, so please make sure you actually listen and pay attention to all of this. So a linear equation that's point slope form is a linear equation that does not start at time 0, okay? So let's look at this first example, bringing back Module 1 skills here. So we have 1, 3, 2, 5, 3, 7, 4, 9. So remember, when we start our extended, we bring over that 3. Then we have to figure out what number plus 3 gives us 5. Well, that's 3 plus 2 gives us 5. Then we have 3 plus 2 plus 2 to get 7. Then we have 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 to get us 9. So as you guys can see here, this table is already filled out a little bit for you. So x's number, so x's first number is 1, that's why we have a 1. X's second number is 2, that's why we have a 2. X's third number is 3, so we have a 3. The fourth number is 4, so we have a 4. So over here, you see the math we need, equals, and then the number of 2's in the extended. So let's focus on this row. So how many 2's did we add by in this first row? We added by 0. How many 2's did we add in the second row? 1. Next row, 2. Last row, 3. So what math can we do with this 1 here to put inside this box so that it equals 0? We can subtract 1. 2 to get 1, we subtract 1. 3 to get 2, we subtract 1. 4 to get 3, we subtract 1. So every x that we dealt with, we had subtracted 1. Remember again, all of these are x's, and we subtracted 1. That's why I have this x and this minus 1. All right, next thing we need to know is the slope. Well, our slope here is our common difference, which is 2. So right now we can write out this equation. We have y equals 2. And remember, slope is always in front of our x, but this time we have an x parentheses minus 1. Okay? But there's some little itty-bitty piece we're forgetting way back from Module 1. We started with a y of 3. So we can write plus 3. Now I have a little love note on the side over here that I want you to try and write out. So let me see if I can rotate my page here. Okay, so on the side, I have point slope form, right? This is point slope form. And we have y equals our slope, parentheses, x minus the table's first x plus table's first y. Now before we go any further, I want you to take a moment here and I want you to think about your first ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend. Okay? I know that's a harsh question to ask for math, but it's going to be relevant, right? And I'm sure you guys are thinking a whole bunch of negative things, but maybe one thing that you can agree on is the first ex is a liar. So see how it says first x here? So what we can say is the first x, all of this, if it's a liar, that means in math, we do the opposite, right? In this case, we do the opposite sign. So the first x is a liar, so we do the opposite. But our y here, our first y, they're pretty cool, so we can do the same sign. We can do the same sign. They're cool. But that first x, right? Thinking those bad thoughts from way back from your first x. The first x in math, we do the opposite sign. Okay? So that's a good way to remember this. All right. So let's rotate back. What you'll notice on my next table is my y values here are exactly the same as example 1. So I'm going to cheat because, you know, Miss Rolf is a cheater. And I'm just going to copy and paste this all right in here because I can do that. I got the iPad. And again, The number of 2's extended. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, right? The number of adding by 2's we have. However, this time we start with x minus 1, then 0, then 1, then 2, so we have that here as well. Now, what's the math that we need to for a minus 1 so that we get 0? Well, we can add 1. Let's see, does that work? 0 plus 1, does that give us this 1 here? It sure does. 1 plus 1 does give us this 2. 2 plus 1 does give us 3. So every x that we dealt with, we added by 1. And once more, in this particular example, our slope is 2, because that's the math we're doing down our table. So we have y equals 2 parentheses x plus 1. But we still need our y, and our y in this case is still that plus 3. And once more, remember how we talked about x's being liars, so this first x, we do the opposite. If it was a negative 1, did we have a plus 1? We sure did. Now that's just a fun way to remember it, but here, this first row, this is why we do the plus 1, right? All of these reasons here, this table is why we do the x plus 1, but remembering to do the opposite is a nice easy way to remember. It's a shortcut, right? It's a cheat code. All right, in example 3, Miss Rolfe made a little error, so let's fix that now. All right, so here is the error. I accidentally started this third example with a -1, so please put a -2. If this is the future, hopefully yours have been fixed. All right, so again, our y's are the same as example 1 and 2, so I can do the same extended. However, this time we start with a -2 instead of a -1 or a 1. So what kind of math can we do to -2 so that we get 0? Well, we can add 2. -1 to get 1, we can add 2. 0 to get 2, we can add 2. 1 to get 3, we can add 2. So every x that we encountered, we have added 2. The slope is still 2, right? That's still our common difference going down our table. So we get y equals 2 parentheses x plus 2. And then our first y was a +3. We can do the same value or same sign for the y, so we have +3. And once again, remember your x is a liar. Started with a -2, so we do a +2. Very good, y'all. All right, rolling up to example 4. So now we're going to go a table from an equation. We're going to do a table from an equation. So in this one, what's our slope? Well, 4 is our slope. And if it's our slope, that means it's the math we do down our table. Our y value, our first x, right? This is our first x, but it's not going to be a -2. We do the opposite sign. So we start with a 2. And then this 3, this is our first y. And we can't do the same sign, so I'm going to put a 3 here. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. Now, here's where people get confused. Going down this side of our table, right? Remember, slopes are always in a fraction. So if this is a nice number of 4, if I put it to make a fraction, I put it over 1. So this is what, we're adding by 1 for the x's. Remember, we didn't do this way back in module 1 because we just already assumed, right? So we will be adding by 1s on the x side when we have a nice slope that's not a fraction. So let's look at example 5. Our slope again is 4, right? So that means we add by 4s down the y side. However, our first x ain't a +2. Remember, your first x is a liar, so we do the opposite and subtract 2. This 3 is our first y, so it's a +3. And once again, we have 3, 7, 11, 15. However, -2, we still are going to be adding by 1s on the x side because this is a nice number 4, right? So if I put it over a fraction, it's over 1. And if it's over 1, that means we add by 1 for our x's. So that means we have negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. So be careful. I saw a lot of people do this. They did negative 2, then negative 3, then negative 4, then negative 5. No, no, no. All right, example 6 and 7. Let's see if you can do 6 and 7. Pause it. Give it a go. Let's see how you do. All right, so example 6 and 7. Did you get the same as me? So in example 6, our slope is negative 4, so we are subtracting by 4 down our table. Our first x, we do the opposite sign, so this is a negative 2, we do a positive 2. And then we have a minus 3 in the back, so we keep that sign. He's not a liar. And then when we do the math for our y's, we get negative 7, negative 11, negative 15. And remember here, since our slope's a nice number, we're going to be adding by 1. It's not an ugly fraction, so we get 2, 3, 4, 5. Example 7, slope's negative 4, so we subtract by 4 down our table. First x says it's a positive 2. No, no, liar. It's a negative 2. Negative 3 is our first y. He's good. So we got a negative 3. And then our y's repeat from example 6, but again, for the x's, we're adding by 1 because, again, our slope's a nice number. It's not a fraction. So that means we can add by 1 down the x side. So we have negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. All right. Looking at example 8. So now we're going to see information to a table and an equation. So this time our slope is 5, right? So that means we will be adding by 5 down our y sides. And since it's a nicey nice number, I can put it over 1, which means for my x's I'll be adding by 1. Okay? If you want to keep using that, totally cool. Now we're given a start point, right? This is our start point. So we have 2, 3. Well, remember, it's going to go x comma y. So we have 2, 3. We don't have to do the opposite yet, right? We're not going from an equation to a table. We're going from information, dropping it onto a table. So let's do our math here. We have 3, 8, 13, 18. Then we have 2, 3, 4, 5. But when we write the equation, we have y equals our slope of 5, parentheses, x. Now we started with a positive 2, so he's a liar. We got to subtract 2. And then when our y, we started with a positive 3. He's cool, so he's still plus 3. Okay? Looking at example 9, our slope this time is a negative 2. So that means we're going to be subtracting 2 down our table. But since it's a nice number, we are definitely going to be adding by 1s on our x side. But if you need to still make your slope into a fraction to remember that, that's cool. I'm cool with that. Our x is negative 1. Our y is negative 4. So for our math stuff, we get negative 6, negative 8, negative 10 for the y's. Then we have 0, 1, 2 for the x's. When we write our equation, we have y equals, our slope is 5, ooh, Miss Rawolf, our slope is negative 2. Catch yourself before you wreck yourself. And then we have x. Now we do the opposite. So it says minus 1. We do a plus 1, right? X's are liars. And then we have a minus 4 for our y. He's cool. So we stay minus 4. In 10 here, now we're taking information straight into an equation. So we're going to start y equals, and we're going to write our point slope form. So our slope is 1/2, so we write our slope first. Then we have our x, and our x's first number here is a negative 1, but we do the opposite. So we do plus 1 because x's are liars. And then for our y's here, we have a minus 4. They're cool, so we do the same sign. Last one, we have y equals, our slope is negative 4/3. That's cool. but we have to do it with our x. Slope's always in front of our x, but this time our x is going to have, well, if this is a positive 2, do the opposite, negative 2, because again, x's are liars. And then lastly, we have our y. Y is minus 5. We keep it a minus 5. And there's our point slope form equation. So you have to do your homework. 2.10, it's 6 problems. Okay? When it asks for a start point, it's looking for something like this, right? This would be your start point, 2, -5. All right, everyone. I hope you have a great afternoon, and I'll see you next time.